The war on Ukraine continues. Hospitals being bombed. The situation is getting more dire, but I need you to prepare yourself for what is going to dominate the narrative going forward. It already has in the right wing, and I expect that to spread. And that is all about biolabs, biological research laboratories. And so how did this become such a big topic of conversation? Well, it started in a couple different places. One area though was back about 1 week ago. The Twitter user WarClandestine posted about, quote, "It certainly appears Putin is targeting the cities and locations with hashtag US Biolabs present. He is 100% going after the alleged bioweapons." Okay, so you have a couple of randos on Twitter who tweet about this, and then it takes 5 seconds before it gets on Infowars, which it did. Infowars published an article titled, quote, "Russian strikes targeting US-run biolabs in Ukraine," citing different Twitter posts saying that our biological weapons laboratories are believed to operate in many cities that were recently attacked by Russia. Okay, 8 minutes later, basically, state media accounts for both China and Russia are spreading them too. Insider, by the way, has a great rundown of that. If you'd like to see some of how they have run with this particular narrative, you can see in this screenshot right here. And maybe that would have been it for a little bit. But Marco Rubio just 2 days ago spoke with the Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, Victoria Nuland. And he asked if Ukraine has chemical or biological weapons. She responded that Ukraine has, quote, "biological research facilities," adding that the US government was quite concerned about the facilities falling into Russian hands. So she then went on to say that it's a classic Russian technique to blame the other guy for what they're planning to do themselves, implying that if there are biological weapons or chemical weapons that are used, well, that's not on them, that's those damn US biolabs out there. And so then that puts us to where we're at as of the last day. That little conversation between Rubio and the undersecretary, and immediately Fox was off. And we'll talk about this, and more importantly, why I think this matters. Not necessarily what the conversation is focusing on today, but where it is likely to go. I'm curious though, for you, Anna, in your daily digesting of the news, what have you been coming across? What do you make of all this?
The disinformation, especially in regard to bioweapons, it's uncanny to what we experienced in Syria. The only difference is the world's paying much closer attention to the actions of Russia in Ukraine because it was such a brazen, illegal invasion of a sovereign country. But the narratives coming from Russian propaganda are very similar, strikingly similar to what we saw in Syria after Assad, with the help of the Russians, would carry out chemical weapons attacks. They would come out and say, the United States is about to wrongfully make an unfounded claim of us doing a chemical weapons attack in Syria, and then they would do a chemical weapons attack in Syria. And I do think it's really important to emphasize wording here, because the video featuring Marco Rubio that the right wing and all of these conspiracy theorists love to point to features the statement that there are biological research facilities. Like literally every country has that. She did not say that they're developing biological weapons. There's absolutely no evidence that Ukraine was developing biological weapons to use against Russia. It's important to pay very close attention to wording, and more importantly, for the conspiracy theorists, anytime they cite something, make sure you actually read what they're citing, because oftentimes they misconstrue various reports or various pieces of evidence that they cite.
Yeah, or go beyond just misconstruing. A misconstrual can be honest. They are not always. Let me be clear though, before we catch up a little bit more on this, where I stand. I have no idea whether Ukraine has or is developing biological or chemical weapons. They're a power with a military. I wouldn't be shocked if they were. My point is not anything about that. My point is it takes maybe 3 days of some narrative about US biolabs. Maybe there's a connection to the US, which there is in truth, and we're gonna get to it. That disseminates 1 day, 2 day, 3 days. And then that now can be referred to justify anything that dishonest actors want to justify. Maybe that's why Biden was doing whatever it was that he was doing, because of the secret labs. If there's something bad that happens, well, we don't have to take seriously the possibility that Russia is dropping 1,000-pound bombs. Maybe it was to cover up the biolabs. Maybe Russia was right to invade because of the biolabs. That's really the thing for me that worries me going forward. It's not that I don't believe that the US could be involved in whatever. I don't put anything past the US government. I'm very worried about the weaponization, not just of chemical weapons, but of this narrative to then take over and allow for anything else that predominantly the right, although it's not just gonna be the explicitly right that's running with this thing, wants to say.
Right. I think that it's very healthy to have that level of skepticism, and also the fear that you have is a legitimate one, because I have no doubt that you're right. This will be repeated over and over again by either useful idiots or bad faith actors. But I want to also just bring one other piece of information to the audience, because the US State Department, the Department of Defense has not denied that there are biological research facilities in Ukraine. In fact, if you go to the US Embassy in Ukraine website, you will get specific details about what they're doing. It says the US Department of Defense's Biological Threat Reduction Program collaborates with partner countries to counter the threat of outbreaks, deliberate, accidental, or natural, of the world's most dangerous infectious diseases. The program accomplishes its bio-threat reduction mission through development of a biosecurity, biosafety, and biosurveillance measure. So they detail this online, like you can read the details of it.
It's not secret.
It's not secret, and more importantly, it's again, watch out for conflating biological research facility with developing biological weapons. Again, there is no evidence that they're developing biological weapons. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, and for the people who will take whatever evidence they want to pretend is there, or even if evidence develops that Ukraine is, you know who has developed these things? The US and Russia. Like they're honestly saying that, like, well, some are just expressing fear. Putin will get access to these labs. He doesn't need access to these labs. He has weapons. He has thousands of nukes. It's such a fake concern. They have them, we have them. We don't need to set up secret labs in Ukraine. The US has tons of different weapons of mass destruction. So it's like this feigned concern, again, to breed an environment of we can no longer trust anything that's going on. And that is the battlefield that bad faith actors like to operate on. It's not that they're ever 100% wrong. They'll sometimes tie what they say to actual facts, like there are biological research facilities. It's that they want to create an atmosphere where anything goes, any claim can be made, because I mean, honestly, who knows what to trust at this point?
Exactly. Yep.
And very briefly, Jennifer Griffin's on Fox was on with Sean Hannity last night, and she, look, to the extent that you trust the US narrative about the relationship with these labs, why we've had this partnership for some time, she laid all of that out. She was very clear about it. That is not, and in fact did not stop Fox News from just saying, oh, thank you, Jennifer Griffins, for acknowledging what is actually going on. Nope, we're going back to Crazy Town, because immediately Tucker Carlson was talking about them, showing the Newland testimony and talking about, so when she says that Russia could potentially use this for disinformation, he now is going to preemptively defend Russia by saying, oh, you think they're running a disinformation thing? No, it's us, in fact. When it was Rubio that brought this up in the first place. It's already gone to QAnon conspiracy forums. They're all over this thing. You can see Media Matters has done a summing up of how this is spreading QAnon, which no longer has any connection to actual Q. It's just a catch-all for all sorts of conspiracy theories. They're all over this. Ian Miles Chong, who opines on everything going on and has a right-wing following, says she confirmed every conspiracy theory, talking about Victoria Nuland. Notably, she did not, but they're fine with it, and people are already making money. Media Matters is a great breakdown. There are tons of conspiracy theories being spread about this, way in advance of any actual evidence that it has ads on it, that is making money on it, and just wait. Now they're gonna be going mad with this thing over the next few days. And so my concern is they're there have been aspects of the conversation around Ukraine that I have not liked. The demonization of random Russians, the completely lacking in critical, critical thinking, jingoism, and all that. These are things we should all be concerned about when we go to war. But largely, we've agreed that the aggression is bad and that we should help people who are being targeted. There are a lot of people in media that are not happy with that being the discussion that's being had. That's not profitable for people with right-wing audiences. But this narrative, this just might be. Anna, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that you are right about that. And look, any information, any claim coming from either side should be taken with a grain of salt. And look, I completely agree with the analysis that this is an illegal invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Vladimir Putin is indiscriminately, doing strikes on civilian territories, civilian areas. He claims that he's going to honor these safe corridors, which allow for the civilians to evacuate the country, but then he ends up targeting them. Like, these are facts. These are things that are, and you can see evidence of that all over the place, including the war crime that was committed yesterday with the bombing of a children's hospital. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting stuff. With that said, though, there's also propaganda coming from the Ukrainian side. And I just want people to look at all of that with a skeptical eye. Don't take what either side says at face value, and question the claims that others make, right? Check the work, check the sources, check the research that they've done, and just be careful to not help amplify intentional disinformation or disinformation that's being spread by useful idiots. That's all I have to say about it.
That is super responsible, and I think our audience can vouch for the fact that we've been doing that. Obviously, I am not unbiased on the two sides of this war, but we do tell people you should not routinely trust any government, including governments that you feel sympathy for. I think that you're totally right there.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.